Welcome back to Expressing My Thoughts, the show where I take a look at the weirdest pieces of media out there and give my general opinion on them. As a species, we are very, very impatient. There are some people in the world who don't like to wait for things to be resolved, only for things to be answered for them immediately. A mindset that still hurts the world to this very day. Probably not the greatest opening statement to a project like this, but I ended up making 90% of it without internet, so who cares? With that in mind, though, how the hell did we put up with this guy for so long?
Mr. Blobby seems to have attracted the attention of someone very important.
This is Mr. Blobby. And he kinda haunts my dreams. This giant, violent cartoon character that speaks exclusively in distorted Pokemon noises, with each segment he's in surprisingly not ending with him beating the shit out of anyone nearby. And we celebrated it. Everyone in the UK somehow celebrated it. This ended up being the UK's biggest mascot for a while, getting free direct-to-video compilations, his own video game, a theme park, and an entire studio album dedicated to him, with one of the songs on it going to #1 on the Christmas charts. You thought George Michael and the Sausage Roll Guy being at #1 constantly was really annoying? First of all, how dare you? And second of all, you've definitely got it better than people in 1993 because they volunteered this infectious ballsack for the #1 spot. That is utterly terrifying. Honestly, for the sake of my sanity, I'm just hoping that the album sounds like this. Much to my disappointment, no, it actually sounds like this. So I'm here to ask, why? What were we all on in the 90s to celebrate something that I, as well as many kids in the UK past the 90s, would constantly live in fear of, and why we're all thankfully ashamed to ever bring him up in conversation again? Hell, Jeremy Clarkson wouldn't even comment about him, and he's made a comment about pretty much anything. Wait a minute. Oh god, Jeremy, no! So why Mr. Blobby? Why, out of every character that we in the UK have adopted as our own, did he end up getting the crazy following? How did he get so popular to begin with? And how did we all understandably agree as a nation to leave him in the 90s where he belonged? So join me on this weird as hell journey as we go through the rise and fall of Britain's biggest shit stain. You know, the bastard might as well be named Blobby, because he reminds me of another purple blob that consumed everything it touched and didn't leave any bones. That's right, Noel Edmonds. The purple suit might have been a dead giveaway. The patient zero for all this came from the oddball variety show Noel's House Party, Season 2, Episode 1, on the 23rd of October, 1992. I am very sorry for anyone who was born on that day. The episode mostly ran as normal, that is, as normal as Noel Edmonds will ever be, until the very, very, very last 10 seconds of the episode, where Noel answers the door, and at that very second, the nightmares began. What the hell is that? Well, the later episodes say that he's supposed to be a children's show presenter, and would often feature in a few gotcha episodes messing with the other guests, and sometimes even Noel himself, which I'll admit is pretty funny at times. In the show itself, it is mostly revealed to be Noel at the end anyways, and we all have a good laugh about it, so... Also, to give everybody a heads up, I do call him Bobby instead of Blobby throughout the majority of this project. I could have re-recorded most of those parts to fit within the inconsistency of everything, but you know what? The text looks like he's named Bobby, so I am calling him Bobby. VHS that we would eventually get in 1993 would show more of Bobby messing with things out in the world, like going into a sauna, going shopping, buying shoes, and finally being put out of his misery. Also, I know it might be a 90s thing, but I don't think those are the kind of people who go to aerobics classes. I thought the only people who go to them are retired folk who want to feel young again. Maybe those are the same people and they've been trapped in the same spin class for all eternity. And those uncanny twitching eyes looking like the spawn of the Inferno himself? That's intentional. The character was made disturbing on purpose, with the comedy behind it being that something so grotesque and violent would host a kids show. Which would honestly be fine and kind of funny if he hadn't taken over the country for 3 years. You sure this isn't unused footage from Remy M. La Rochelle's Mechanics? You know, this might as well be a horror movie anyways, because let's face it, nothing is going to be more terrifying than what happened shortly before this VHS's release. The thing got itself a music video. Oh my god, do you really need that grand of an opening for this thing? You might as well get Flipper to open for the Olympics. Sorry, I'm just joking about it. The song does start up after that. How in the rotting teeth of London can you not laugh at this? Did the writers not think that it was going to be a little jarring giving one of the most violent mascots in the history of mascots a goddamn children's choir, airing it on Christmas of all things, and taking the #1 spot for 3 consecutive weeks? Yeah, it is one of our many crimes that we gave this thing the top spot. Not just that, but it bet out Meatloaf. Meatloaf, one of the greatest, most talented musicians who ever lived, got Coldplay crazy frogged by Mr. Bobby, of all things. I'm sorry, America, but you've earned the jokes that you made about us. Those jokes are correct. Because let's face it, having this lethal looking thing take out the Bee Gees, Meatloaf, and Take That is a clear sign that we all have zero taste in music. He even murdered Wayne Sleep at some point. That's the worst crime of all. This is prime British cheese right here, and let me tell you, you thought this, Convoy, Disco Duck, the Chicken Song, Professor Elemento, the Bob the Builder theme, Dude the Bartman, Last Ketchup, the fast food song, Baby Shark, I'm Too Sexy, Boris Johnson is a fucking cunt, Hippopotamus song, and a bagpipe rendition of Amazing Grace were the dumbest things to ever get our attention. Well, joke's on you, America. We got S Club 7 and you didn't, so ha! Then again, one of their songs did shine America, so I should probably not say that. This song is terrible. Just thinking more about this being the peak of this whole phenomenon every single day while editing this just makes me want to saw off Scotland from the rest of the UK, since it's clear that they don't want us there anymore. You know, Ireland is much cooler than New England, and it's not just because they somehow snuck a goth Satanist into Eurovision last year. Just saying. But yeah, like I said, this whole music video was pretty much him at the height of his popularity, even spawning him his own theme park in 1995. Oh dear. Hey. Want to see the most dystopian toilet on the planet? Yeah. Video's scary now. The same year, we also got another tape called Blobby Vision. It's like the movie Terror Vision, but it's actually scary. He came, he saw, he blobbed. Look, I'm already scared of him as it is. Don't make me think of him in his own porno. This spoofs the idea of Bobby having his own TV channel, which, if I have to be honest here, that sounds like a lot of fun. But something feels a little wrong here. The one thing I liked about Bobby was Killer Bee's dedication to improv. Like, you can never tell he was half-assing any attempt to be funny, but that almost feels completely absent here, with all of his escapades being completely scripted, and by God is it obvious. Most of the tape, well, when I mean most of it, I mean all of it, is completely taken up by parodies of other media. Some that are more close to home, like Postman Pat, Casualty, Naughty, and The Last of the Summer Wine, but there are moments where he's hosting a fan mail section or interviewing somebody on his own talk show, which I'll admit are pretty funny. Those are roles that he would fit in without it feeling too jarring to his origin. But then there's just strange ones, like there's a spoof of The Good and the Bad and the Ugly at one point, which is not a TV show as far as I know. And oh joy, it's Noel Edmonds again. Okay, I will give him a fair pass on here because he is like the one person who is actively trying to save this tape. The way he delivers everything here kinda reminds me of the dad from Problem Child, trying to keep a sense of sanity from taking care of what's practically the son of Satan. I don't even want to downplay Noel as an entertainer either. He's done some really good stuff for TV throughout his career, including the activism against TV licenses and being in one of my favorite satires of the 90s, Brass Eye. Just the decisions he's made while making his shows, just... what was he thinking, man? There's even a segment here parodying Baywatch called Blob Watch. Yeah, I'm gonna stick with Bus Watch, thank you very much.
Bus Watch!
I've always found it fascinating that everything relating to Baywatch, whether it be the careers of Pamela Anderson, David Hasselhoff, Bryan Cranston, or even the goddamn Beach Boys, would get some form of resurgence later in their life, but Mr. Blobby never did. I will say this, that fact alone is funnier than anything relating to the 2017 Baywatch. Okay. Let me give you a bit of advice to all the straight men in the audience. If you want to gawk at a bunch of beautiful busty women in swimsuits, just watch one of the Bikini Summer movies. I feel like you have a lot more dignity jerking to that than the goddamn Mr. Blobby Baywatch parody. Huh, so maybe that's how it got started. Yep, Blobby even molests sunbathing women. What are we, like, free away from getting a supervillain bingo? At least Blobby was nice enough to share his address with us. Now I know where to send the bombs when World War III starts. There are a few itty-bitty pieces of absurdism that I do really like about Blobby Vision, like, come on, that is hilarious. But overall, it's just... meh. Oh my god, he murdered them! Yep, looks like we got a bingo. He also got a video game. What? Look, I'm not gonna pretend that I know much about video games, cause I don't. I mean, I played them of course, but I never really cared to play some of the bigger releases like Last of Us or GTA 5 or anything like that. My studies and work are firmly just focused on music and film. But from what I've been hearing about this is literally just Super Troll Island again, but they gave it testicular cancer. Neat. Oh yeah, and I guess this is a music channel too. Might as well talk about his only studio album. How about that? It was released on the same day as Jimi Hendrix's second album. Isn't that oddly strange? Alright, moment of truth time.
Hi, this is Crinkly Bottom Radio, where FM means fine music and AM means, morning.
Oh, Mike Blobby had a farm.
Blobby, blobby, blob.
10 out of 10. There was one more attempt that was done with the character, and that would be in the single season 1996 show, The All-New Adventures of Mr. Bobby. And it was the very thing that the character was making fun of. Film parodies, goofy music, everything about it being scripted. It's a children's show that just so happens to star a children's show parody. Oh, the sweet, sweet irony. I've always wondered what Noel thought of this when it first came out. I mean, I could look it up, but my tablet doesn't have any internet right now, so I can't. Because as far as I know, he wasn't a single bit involved with the making of this. He never shows up at all in any of the segments, and even if he was involved, he isn't credited anywhere. That might be why it felt so uninspired, because even at the other two tapes' worst, Edmonds throughout all of them was still the glue that held them all together. He had a unique delivery to his comedy, and the way he rubbed off on the BFG's giant pus spot here made for some of the more memorable moments in the entire show. Another thing about the other two tapes, they clock in at a respectable 70 and 73 minutes respectively. This one, only 61. Yeah, 61. That's barely even feature length. That's the kind of length that would only narrowly squeeze into one of my film director rankings. And it only gets worse. Take out all the opening and closing credits and you're left with 56 minutes worth of movie. That is a new level of pathetic.
50.
And they're not even consistent with a runtime. Some are less than 3 minutes while others go on for 7.5. And there's only 14 episodes too, so there's no way in telling how long an episode's gonna go for until it randomly ends out of nowhere. It's not like an Adult Swim show like Aqua Teen Hunger Force where the random cut to credits ends up being a joke payoff onto itself. Things just happen and then it's over. Maybe at that point they just had no idea what to do with the character after viciously beating him into the ground for the last 3 years. And call me crazy for defending the other two tapes, cause at least they had some personality, some self-awareness, a teensy bit of a soul. This just doesn't have one. It's the most lifeless out of the three, and to my relief the public agreed, since this ended up being the last tape that was ever made by him that was officially released by the BBC. After 1996, the character vanished from the public, only making some occasional guest spots on other shows. And sadly managed to bring Noel's house party down with him, since that ended up being cancelled in 1999. But I don't think it was Bobby's fault. The show's ratings ended up declining shortly after somebody died from a stunt they did on the air. His most famous appearance since was on Big Fat Quiz of the Year, where he famously scared the ever-loving crap out of Jack Whitehall.
I hated Mr. Blobby when I was, like, he terrified me more than anything else. Like, he looked like a fat, jaundiced baby. Anyone would find that amusing. It's horrible.
The Teletubbies.
Teletubbies. They're joyous things. Blobby is evil.
Normally in this situation I would tell Asterix himself to toughen up, but him being scared of Blobby I can totally understand.
Is it true you had an affair with one of the Teletubbies?
How much do I have to bet that this was a character Chris Morris made when he was drunk? Like, knowing that he created these 3 shows, that could definitely be a possibility.
That was an anecdote about nailing one of the Teletubbies.
Great, now he's just stealing lines from Four Lions.
What the fuck were you allowed near kids?
So why him? Like, out of every fictional character that's become a landmark of our own history, like, just name a bunch of them. Mr. Bean, Paddington, Doctor Who, Wallace and Gromit, Pingu, Sherlock Holmes, Blackadder, Andrew Lloyd Webber, Thomas the Tank Engine. Why the hell was this thing given its own Beatles-level fanbase? Like, I genuinely have no idea. My best guess is probably down to when he got popular. Like, 1993 was that weird point of the decade where it didn't make as much impact as the last 3 years. Like, how many years can you name where we got Smells Like Teen Spirit and Barton Fink in the same year? I can't think of many. But it was the year where entertainment as a medium mattered more than anything else. Jurassic Park, Beavis and Butthead, Kim Basinger taking the biggest loss of her career to David Lynch's daughter. Yes, that actually happened, look it up. Björk's first album, Nirvana's final album, Schindler's List, The Simpsons. It was a really big year for media that year with many pop culture milestones. And the UK didn't really have that much going on at the time, so Bobby got the big multimedia craze while my boy Trapdoor was left to be forgotten by time. Honestly, after going through the guy's entire legacy, I did end up kind of enjoying how over-the-top famous Mr. Bobby really got. Like, if you think about it, he was a really surreal character from an already really surreal variety show, so it only felt fitting for him to get a really surreal cult following. So seeing how out of control his fame got in the UK was honestly a lot of fun to uncover. But I still find him really creepy. And also, did he really need this much? A video game, a Christmas music video, a theme park, TV show appearances? Like, a lot of that from a character that looks like this still makes no sense to me. It's like giving Bill Cosby his own Nickelodeon show. Oh wait. To say the least, Mr. Blobby got a hit record. And I know that he could be very good in horror movies. Tiny Tim, 1992. Wait a minute. So Mr. Blobby came out with his big hit single in 1993, and Tiny Tim died in 1993. he